Hello, and welcome back to Supermind Experiment Part 2. I gave this program an acronym USME, which stands for Universal Study of Mind Exploration. Okay, now today I want to give you a few little metaphors, a few coined words that I've heard throughout time. And then we're going to work on association today. And we're going to learn how to put association and put order to it. Because most association in our mind is random. It spurts from one thing to the next. There's no real order to it. You can go from one time frame to the next time frame in your life. You know, something that will stimulate a thought from one area to another. But we're going to learn to gather some order to it today. But for right now, I'm going to coin a few phrases. 1. Knowledge is power. How many times have you heard this word, knowledge is power? Probably quite a few times. But there's lots of books with lots of knowledge in them that sit on the shelves and collect dust. Am I right? Not everyone wants to sit down and read a large collection of knowledge. That'd be too much work, wouldn't it? Well, knowledge is power, but only when it's enacted. Obviously, knowledge has no power until you enact it, until you actually put it to use. Okay? Now, I'm also going to talk about the education system of America. You've all heard of the program No Child Left Behind. And my children were going to school during this time. I have a child that's still in school. Well, he's 16 now, almost 17, but he struggled because they pushed so much information onto these kids in a short amount of time that they didn't learn anything. And everybody in education knows that your mind can only gather information for short periods of time, and most of the information is lost anyhow. So this Left Behind program is flawed. It's not built on a foundation. If they build it on a foundation to teach children how to learn before they try to make them learn, okay? Everybody has to know how to learn, okay? Some people pick it up quicker than others. Some people are just born with an innate ability because their upbringing, their environment. There are a lot of factors that are involved in this. But everybody has the capability to learn. And some people have the capability to learn at a high rate, but they're limited by what they're being taught in school and what they're being taught around them. Well, in this experiment today, our goal in this experiment today is to help build a foundation, okay? To build a foundation so that your mind can work more appropriately. We work with the whole concept of processing information. We're going to be working on that kind of today too. The only difference is we're going to enact some associations, some inanimate objects, and a few other things that I'm going to teach you about today. And we're going to experiment with it and see what the outcome is. And I expect you people that are involved in this experiment to send me your data, send me your experiences. You come up with something interesting or new, I'll give you the credit for it and air it here online. Well, let's go on. So today, when I'm talking about association, everybody associates things on a daily basis. We see one thing, it relates to another thing, it relates to another thing, it relates to another thing. That's just how the human mind works. That's one of the main things works in the brain is association. We've known this for years. But our association of things is so random. It's hard to keep an accurate order because we bounce from one thing to the next. You know, a football could lead into a sport could lead into a different time and place where we were playing it. It could lead into an injury, it could lead into all kinds of different things. But today, we want to put some order to this association. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to teach you about symbolic language a little bit and about mnemonics. And I have a little metaphor that I'm going to give you during this too. Towards the end here, I'm going to give you a little metaphor so that you can see just how this will work. Okay, so let me go on here. I'm rambling on a little bit and I don't want to ramble on. I want to get to the point. Okay, today I'm going to talk about mnemonics too. Today we'll talk about the Roman room technique. Now, mnemonics is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. Kids in college use it to remember a long list of information, and they had this thing called the Mind Olympics, where all these people are learning to remember all kinds of random card counts and doing math in their mind at accelerated rates, and just basically having a large memory, an elephant-like memory. Well, I want to take it one step further with you people. Having memory is fine, but having a working memory is much better. An organized memory, where the mind is always reconstructing, reorganizing, refiling it, making so the mind is more efficient. So, to have a more efficient mind, your mind has to have some order to it. Even if things are not in perfect order, even chaos has an order. You ever heard of organized chaos? That's a scientific thing about the butterfly effect and things like that. That you can actually depict some of the outcomes of chaotic things. I don't want to get in depth here with you. I got to be a little more down to earth, because not everybody's interested in all these scientific things. They want to know how the mind works and how it's going to benefit them in this experiment. So today, we're going to deal with the Roman room technique that I know from mnemonics, and we're going to expand upon it. I remember I was telling you in my last video about the inner reality. Now I'm going to teach you how to use the inner reality today. How to inject this concept of inner reality that everybody has and everybody's capable of doing. What I want you to do is to remember a room, a specific room in your past, a place where you know very well, okay? And in this room, I want you to think of a comfortable chair. Maybe you have a chair in your room. Think of that chair that's in your room. Sit in it if you have to, or imagine sitting in it. And then by there, you have a little stand, and maybe a little cup of coffee or a little cup of water on your stand beside you. You can do this. You can enact this out in a real manner, but I want you to envision this as you're doing it. Okay? So you got your chair, you got your glass of water, your glass of coffee, whatever. Your chair. Now, this is going to be your thinking chair. This is what they call an anchor in neurolinguistic training. Okay? I'm going to go into all aspects of learning and using the mind, because it's necessary, because the more tools you have at your aid, the more that you're going to be able to excel, and the more this experiment's going to move on, and then you can give me your findings. So, you have your chair, you have your cup of coffee, you have your room. Okay, now, the chair is going to represent an anchor. This is your chair. Every time you sit in this chair, you recall all the memories and associations that you've seen throughout the day and whatever. You're going to do that. That's your chair. That's your memory chair. That's your chair that you're going to sit down and associate things with. Okay? The cup is, like I was talking about symbolic language, the cup is going to be all that information. You're going to pour all the information in that cup like it's water. You're going to imagine that the water is information, and you got a pitcher of information by your stand there, a pitcher of water, or tea or coffee, and you're pouring it into your cup. Here's a vice, there's a cup. Okay, now this is all symbolic. But you're going to remember this chair, your memory chair of association, and your stand you have there with a cup and a pitcher of your favorite beverage, which the beverage is going to be symbolic as knowledge, and you're pouring it into a cup. And you sit in this chair. Every time you sit in this chair, you're going to do this on a regular basis. You sit in your chair, or you literally sit in your chair in your mind. Say you're not at home, you can't do it at home. So you sit in this chair in your mind, and you drink this cup of knowledge. You do this on a regular basis. So every time that you sit in this chair, and they say you're associating the day's events, or you're associating things around you. And then, a lot of this is random. Now, the whole idea is here now is to help you put order to it. So what you do is, let's just say day's events. You started out in the morning. So morning would be the early point of your day. It would be 1. We'll just say it's 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock would be the one point. From 7 to 8, try to remember what kind of information, what you did during that time, and that would be your anchor point given right there. Now, I'm not trying to get so in depth. I'm trying to just do a little bit of time here, but start out that way. Start out with 1 hour, okay? because most of the time, remember, most people can't remember every aspect of what they've done during the day. So we're just going to start with the first hour of the day, and then later on you can add another hour, until you can get used to remembering your whole day. And within that time, put those things in order that you've done. Now, when you're sitting in this chair, recalling all this stuff, what you're recalling, all this visual information you're recalling when you're sitting in this chair, because you're in that chair, you're actually in that place in your mind. So you're thinking about this stuff in this chair while you're thinking it in your mind. And then imagine as you're speaking, all this liquid is going into this pitcher, absorbing all the information and knowledge, and you're pouring this in the cup. This is all symbolic, of course, okay? That's the start. You don't have to go any further than that. Just start up for that 1 hour, and those three inanimate objects, the chair, the cup, the pitcher, and the fluid that you're putting in it, which is knowledge. Okay, now, I'm going to move on here because I don't want to miss anything for you people in this experiment. Now, I'm going to give you a metaphor now so that you can understand what we're doing here. We're building a foundation, okay? This is just the beginning of a foundation, okay? My question is it easier to carry a single rock, or is it easier to have a basket and put the rocks in this basket and carry? Well, there are factors involved. First of all, how big is the rock? Obviously, if it's too big to carry, then you ain't going to be able to do it. So you want to do things in a fashion that are not overwhelming. So we're going to deal with picking up smaller rocks. Just like with anything, you start out small and then work your way up to where you can handle it. Okay? So now say we have a series of a whole bunch of little rocks, right? You can fit a rock in each hand, but you just can't pick up the whole pile of rocks. Obviously, in order to make it easier, you want to put all the information or all those rocks into a basket. Now you see where I'm going with this. So you put all these rocks into this basket. So that's carryable, but not over heavy, not overburdensome. So you carry it to the point to where you want to take it. That's the same way with the human mind and information. You can't handle a big rock of information because it's just too much to handle for the human mind. So you start out with smaller rocks, okay? Now you got a small pile of rocks, a small pile of information, and you want to convey that information and store it. Well, you have to carry this information to your storage area. Okay, and just for instance, we're going to use our mind again. Imagine a closet being an area where you store things. Obviously, we do store things in a closet. So the next inanimate object you're going to imagine is a closet. Okay, in this closet you store all kinds of stuff, just like the Roman room technique, except we're using a closet. So you're taking all this information that you have. Say you want to remember something, so you take little bits and pieces of information, chunks of information, and you compile them and you put them in this basket, and you carry them to the closet, and you put them in the closet, and you store them there. Okay, now these are just ways of building a foundation. Okay, in your mind, a symbolic form of learning. Okay, this is all symbolic. To start out, don't expect to be able to put large amounts of information into your basket right away, and you got to do this over time because the mind has to develop a habit. It takes 8 weeks to develop a habit, and it takes 21 days to store information. There's a lot of factors involved in the human mind. It has a cycle. The human mind does have a cycle. But now, today, let me review what we've talked about. We talked about a foundation, okay, building a foundation. We talked about association and how to make your mind more ordered and less random. We talked about inanimate objects. We use them as a symbolic language to teach our mind to store information. We talked about the Roman room and mnemonics. And you get a chance to look up mnemonics and learn it. It can be beneficial. And we talked about easier ways of storing information. Now, I went a little bit faster because it's only 15 minutes for me to give you this information. But review this video and review the inanimate objects and experiment with these things in your mind. Put them together. If you come up with another way of doing it, say you have a different chair or a different pitcher or a different cup or a different way of storing information, you can use a basket. Anything that contains anything you can use as a way of containing information. It could be a basket, cup, it could be anything. You can rearrange it in any form you want. The whole idea is to start putting these things into order and developing a symbolic language that your mind understands so that it automatically stores this information. In other words, it ain't going to be a forced process. It's going to be an automatic process. Get to you in the next video here. I'm out of time. Sorry.